like it's been.
Well, good morning, everybody. This is Justice's Waiting Room. This is a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. I am your host. My name is Jared Malott. I live in Indianapolis, Indiana. If you want to follow me, you can. I don't really post on social media. Want to Bob, CC, S&M, Zeke, travel. Okay. I don't know if you saw my video this morning, but we did talk about this yesterday. He talked about how, despite the fact that, I call into question the validity Genius One. The no-go Genius One. Okay. So yeah, Donald Trump has imposed these tariffs, and we literally, we don't have the infrastructure in place to even accept these tariffs. And I made a video this morning to give you the visualization. How do we lack the infrastructure, Jared? Well, remember that in Donald Trump's brain, he thinks if we make imported goods more expensive, it will force Americans to buy American. Buy American. Okay? But the facts are there are no manufacturing jobs or factories that are like prepared to take on hundreds of thousands of manual, physical, hard labor jobs, the kind of jobs Americans don't do, that we long exported to the likes of China, because in China they don't have the same labor laws. They pay you nothing. You're lucky to have smog to breathe. Okay? And so what you have, for the record, is at these ports, you have these little one-man shacks. And I know you've seen them if you've watched TV shows or movies, or if you've actually ever been to a port where the boats actually dock. There's like this little shack. It's like a one-man shack. And typically, and it isn't even fortified enough to keep you warm. As far as having power, I mean, it might be able to charge your cell phone or maybe power a little one-man heater, right? But it doesn't have a fancy computer there. There's not a till. It's not like they're used to making change. Good to go? And again, we're being very rudimentary. I know that there are lots of fucking details that I'm missing. I don't care. That's not the point. The point is that literally, at the port where the boats come in, where you would pay those tariffs, they can't accept the money. They don't have the infrastructure. And I make it real easy. When somebody who's used to getting paid like $7 a day gets paid $7,000 a day, they're going to have to leave that post and go take that money and put it somewhere. You can't just sit there all day with a pile of cash. Okay? So it's unsecure. And I know that the people in power, this administration doesn't give a fuck about any of those things. Remember, it's all about fear. And so, a lot of people have said like the other things are the smoke and mirror, the real problem are the tariffs. And I hate to break it to you, but the smoke are the tariffs. The tariffs, they don't have the infrastructure to collect. The smoke are the bring back American manufacturing. The calls for that smoke. They're not coming back. Those jobs aren't coming back. Again, similarly, they don't have the technology for this. They're not. There are for the record. There's more than 100 countries, right? Most of them haven't been being tariffed, and now they're all being tariffed. So understand, it's like orders of magnitude difference in money. We're not talking about the guy was making $1 a day and now he's making 10 at that same spot. No, orders of magnitude, meaning like they weren't collecting money there. He was just sitting there watching the boats come in, and now oodles of dollars are showing up, and where the fuck is he supposed to put it? Infrastructure. There's not an app. Infrastructure. You can't pay ahead. People talk about invoicing. Like, no, what if your boat crashes? I wouldn't pay that money. Get what I'm saying? Like a boat full of goods? I ain't paying shit until that shit hits shore. What are we talking about? All the risk is in the boat travel, personally. And again, I don't own a boat and I don't ship things and I don't work at the port. I'm just pointing out per an article we read from the coast was saying like we can't even collect tariffs. We don't have the infrastructure for that. So I just want to point out that that has been a big conversation for most of my life, where Democrats will even go so far as to say, "Hey, we'll go along with your idea. It's just you got to have build the infrastructure, then you can do shit like this." And Republicans are like, "No, fucking ram it through." And no lube. And that's kind of the situation we're in, is that they've hey Cammy, we've imposed these tariffs, but we don't actually have the infrastructure. We're not ready to do that. It would take us years to be ready to actually collect all that tariff. And also, I want to point out that Donald Trump and this administration are using the IEEPA Act of 1977. And I'm not a lawyer. I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, but I can read. And it says in order for the tariff to be legitimate, you have to constitute that with a national emergency, and a trade deficit is not a national emergency. We have had a trade deficit in the United States for 50 years. So it has literally not mattered until now, apparently. And then also, they are supposed to be reciprocal tariffs, and that means equal on both sides. So when, they're tariffing our shit at 10%, we tariff theirs at 10%, that meets that. So all of those tariffs that are, you know, insanely higher than what our goods are being tariffed, that is an example of an illegitimate tariff. So this illegitimate administration has imposed illegitimate tariffs that are not being collected because they don't have the ability to do that. So I love all the comments. The explosion of comments and on TikTok right now was so bad that TikTok was like, some of these comments have been blocked. Didn't even give me a chance. That's funny. So yeah, anytime that I notice that there's like anybody watching me at all, we say, hey, I advocate for a healthy lifestyle here. Hey, get 8 hours of sleep a night, and you probably need to take a nap. You also need to drink water, eat right, and exercise. Control what you can control. Okay. So, want to just kick it off with, holy fuck, this is dumb. The tariffs are illegitimate and not being collected anyway because they're not ready for that. Okay. How many boosters? I'm not really sure what you're asking. That should answer your question. What up, Crush? And also, there's a captain, a former army captain, um, Jeselnik. No, not Jeselnik. That's a comedian. I'm trying to remember her name. The knitting lady, the cult knitting lady. She made a video that I think you should all see. I would find it and share it with you, but I'm a failure. McMahon of the day once. Oh my god. Yeah. Um, Donald Trump can declare martial law all that he wants. But much like our conversation about in order to actually collect tariffs, you have to be prepared to do that, and we're not. The same thing applies. Dispatch. What? Um, there would be troop movement. There would be signs. There would be your friends and family that are in the military would be talking about, holy fuck, we are going to do this martial law shit. Look, I got to go report here, do this training, get this equipment, go here, sit here for a while, get activated. Thin yellow line flag, buddy. That is a fucking Indiana Pacers logo, you turd. That's a Purdue Boilermaker logo, and that's a fucking Colts logo, and this is wood burnt. And then I didn't do it. A friend of mine did. And they were a gift to me. Holy fuck. People are stupid and looking for a reason to be upset. Anyway, so there hasn't been like troop movement. It's a fucking Purdue. That's an Indiana Pacers logo on that flag. That is not associated. That's Pacers colors. I'm gonna blow my brains out. What the fuck are you on, bro? Jesus. That is not what that is. Yes. Which is supposed to be the evidence, right? The Indianapolis Colts, the Purdue Boilermakers, the fucking Pacers. Marine Corps. It says it right on my hat. Hell, who is this person? Why are you in there? Why are you here? Jesus Christ. I can't handle it anymore. It's almost like stupid was the feature. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, there would be troop movement if there was gonna be stuff done. They would be getting in position, man. They would be your friends that serve would be talking about it. You know what I'm saying? Like it would be a thing. It's not. Okay? It's not. President Zelensky's telling Donald Trump to come to Ukraine. Right? TikTok's wild, bro. Somebody will just be like, you have this thin yellow line on that flag in the background, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, that's a Pacers logo, an Indiana Pacers logo from the NBA. Running that thin yellow line, buddy, you dispatcher. And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Are you a Navy veteran? And I'm like, my hat literally says Second Mardiv, you fucking moron. Hey, what's up, Corvette? It's like I can only handle so much dumbassery. Okay. So yeah, two stories there. Trump had a meltdown last night after watching 60 Minutes. Okay. Good. He wants maximum fines against CBS and shit. Good, 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 good. Biting the hand that feeds him. I actually think it's one of the things that Donald Trump actually does. Did you watch the Masters? No, golf is for people that vote for Donald Trump. Um, so yeah, Donald Trump has this feature about him that I appreciate. I appreciate because it's like I would never trust someone like that. He is a backstabber. He will backstab the fuck out of you. He will turn on you. And what people, the thing about it is a lot of people are cucks, and what that means is that they'll let someone do that to them and not do shit. You get what I'm saying? Like, there's a whole lot of men out there that would 100% let Donald Trump fuck their wife. Yeah, for the notoriety, bro. Why not? That's literally how this cuck mentality works. Yeah. No, that's so far from the truth. So I can't stand man, but like golf. Really? What percentage of professional golfers are non-white? That'll answer every question that you have ever about golf. Golf courses are a stain on society. They should be turned into homeless camps. Hmm. All of them. Golf is stupid. It's wasteful. As a reminder, you should be going Protest Finder USA, R50501. Figure out where you want protest. Okay? Again, as I've said many times, yeah, right. As I've said many times, if you want to participate in this resistance, you need to do some things that are going to make it safer for you to protest. And I haven't really said it like that, and I should have. But to make it safer for you to protest, you should eliminate all meta applications from your devices, especially your cell phones that you carry with you everywhere you go. You need to get rid of Facebook threads, IG, and Messenger off of your phone. You need to get rid of WhatsApp and Twitter and Amazon. You just need to get those off your devices. It's not in your best interest. It's also like the entry level to the resistance is just stop, stop. You're only in here because there's a lot of people in here. You're not in here because you care. Didn't they say something about thou shalt have no gods before me? Isn't that a thing? Okay. And then from there, once you get rid of these troublesome applications, we're in the midst of a Target. Well, we're post the Target boycott. I'll just never shop at Target boycott. I'll never shop at Target. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. Never shop at Target. I'll never shop at Walmart. Like, these aren't just places I don't do business, right? And any business that supports this administration. Hmm. Sure. But more importantly, it's about getting these invasive applications like Facebook and Twitter off of your phone, and they're soul sucking. Let's be real about some shit. My mental health is 1,000 times better because I'm not sitting around all day. The thing that used, and again, caveat, the thing that used to drive me fucking crazy, because I went to school for this, I have a degree in social media, was shit would go down. So, thing happens. Go to Twitter. It's being talked about immediately for weeks. Go to Facebook. Not a fucking peep. I post something about it for a week. People are like, you're full of shit. The second week, the story comes out on Facebook. I share it back to my timeline. See, I fucking told you, idiots. Right? Fake news for a few days. And then eventually, 2 weeks after thing that actually happened, that we watched happen live because of Twitter, took 2 weeks for it to actually take on Facebook, where people were like, yes, this is the reality I live in. And as I got older, I would be scrolling Twitter for current news, right? And then I'd flip over to Facebook, and because it's all like friends and family, it would take them 2 weeks to catch up with reality. No, I didn't see that Elon Musk was at the fights with his child acting as a human shield. Why are we on the border? Trump wants a war. Well, the U.S. military's taken over control of the U.S. border. It's probably safer than having people with limited skills and training, like Border Patrol. I want to keep pointing this out. You don't have to have a degree to be a cop. So, there's a reason. Is because typically it's your gravy seals that go become cops. And no, no, I didn't, Kelly. That's actually not true. I don't comment on Twitter and I don't post on Facebook. So now you're lying about what I said. That's not true at all. Nope. In fact, I created the American Socialist Party on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Blue Sky, and I don't use it. Why? Because we don't have a bank account, a tax ID, and we're not registered with the FEC. And I feel like it would be like it takes legitimacy from the movement when you start asking for money before you're actually prepared to be able to accept it. It's almost like I understand infrastructure and Donald Trump does not understand infrastructure, right? Like Donald Trump would impose tariffs worldwide, and we aren't in a position to even collect that. We can't even take that money, right? So before I start the American Socialist Party, don't you think it would be wise that I get. So you either have to spend $5,000, which is not hard to do at all, by the way, or raise $1,000, right? In order to get a tax ID, which is probably how you're going to get a bank account, right? And then once you have all that stuff, you can apply for party membership through the FEC. And I don't know that the FEC under this administration is going to allow the American Socialist Party to be registered, right? So there's a rhyme and a reason. Like there's an actual logical reason why we're not doing certain things. And I'm going to wait until I just straight up have the money. I just have the money. I didn't raise it. I didn't ask anybody for it. I made it myself at a job I work, right? And I got to get a job that I make money in excess of what I absolutely fucking have to have because I got to part with $1,000, right? Which again should give us legitimacy, is that I fully explained what I'm going to do before I'm going to do it, and I'm making sure that the infrastructure is in place. Meaning I'm going to go so far as to like create a website and have people test it so that I can make sure that people are able to go to a simple site, understand that there is no cost to join the American Socialist Party, because that would kind of fly in the face of the American Socialist Party if Just like the Democrats and Republicans, you had to bare minimum donate to the party to become a member, right? I think the minimum is $1 in Indiana. If you donate $1 to the Democratic or Republican Party, you can switch your party affiliation. But yeah, S&M. Facebook, dude, I stopped. One of the reasons it was so easy for me to stop posting on Facebook, um, and I don't even remember the last time I posted. I'm actually going to go look now that somebody said, like, didn't you say you've posted on Facebook? Actually, let's go look. Notifications out the wazoo. Not even going to look at them. My last post was February 25th. So 2 months ago. Before that, January 31st. January 11th. Yeah, January 11th is the last time I. Okay. So yeah, it's been months, and I have absolutely no desire to go back. Yeah, I got tired of losing friends. I got tired of posting shit on Facebook, and me wondering like, are these people that live in the Indianapolis area that are coworkers of mine, right? That I've worked with at multiple businesses that are potentially DTs. Like, you know what DV is, right? The D in DV. You know what an IT is? Like an international terrorist, domestic terrorist. Yeah. I got tired of posting something on social media and then finding out about people. And that's why I've said like don't get to know people. Like the more you get to know them, it makes it worse. The funny thing about it, Omar, is that if you're actually paying attention to what's going on, Donald Trump will go down as one of the most worthless political candidates in American history in terms of what he actually accomplished, why he was in, why at all, like what at all he has accomplished since he's been in office, and none of it is good, and also none of it actually exists because he didn't actually do anything. It is important that we say that too. Go talk to yourself in the closet. Democrats go back. Scott S. Let's look at Scott S.'s profile here. Cool story, bro. All right. Fortunately, I'm not a Democrat. So, fortunately for me, I'm a socialist. I'm actually the founder of the American Socialist Party. You see, I don't support a genocide, right? So I'm not pro-Israel, free Palestine. I also don't support Russia, free Ukraine. Slava Ukraine. Hmm. Yep. The problem with Skylight right now is it's not for me yet because you can only post like 3-minute videos. Yes. That's kind of a dumb question. Like, do non-Marines typically even know what the Second Marine Division is? Yeah, I saw that. I saw that, CC. Can talk to myself in the closet. I don't even know. Don't even know, man. Oh, dang, 3 minutes? Yeah, the thing that I can't even with this administration. Here's Donald Trump saying it was a mistake, guys. It was a mistake. Well, Paul, I asked. Because anyway, as I've said multiple times, anytime I notice that I have a large amount of people watching me, I want to make sure that I'll be the person in your life that says control what you can control. Hey, got to get 8 hours of sleep at night. You probably need to take a nap. One alley. Got to drink water. You got to eat right. You got to exercise. All that shit. Why? Because the your adversaries, they do not. Those people that you don't like, who you spend your day disliking, they are not. They are not well rested. They are not hydrated. Oh, you know what else you don't want to do? You don't want to do? Don't start Googling what life saving drugs China exports to the United States. Don't look at that. That's not relevant. This is a news show where we discuss news and politics, but 20 years, over 20 years ago. hmm I'm certainly not going to have somebody with user questioning my service. You know what I'm saying? It's like, who the fuck are you? There. Make it easier. By the way, did you all see this shit? So this is what I try to tell you. Your movement loses steam. Your movement loses steam when it goes violent, right? And so I've been trying to say it. Like, look at this. Was Constantine allegedly muerted his parents in extremist plot to unalive Donald Trump? Like, that's wild, bro. And I want you to understand again, much. Wow, these kids are fucking nuts, man. All them chemicals going through your brain when you're a kid too. That's tough. But did you see 2 counts of first degree muerte and 2 counts of hiding a corpse? And he also on his phone the order of 9 angles. Did they mean angels and they just misspelled that? Yo! So this dude, Nikita Kasap, so he allegedly paid for, at least in part, a drone and explosives to be used as part of a mass destruction to commit an attack. What? I mean, the FBI is like good at their job. No, that's the 9 angles. Secret Society. Huh. As a reminder, again, you might want to go to R50501 where you live, our Protest Finder USA, figure out what's going on where you live. Okay, one of the things that I noticed, are you ready? In an R Indiana post, somebody was talking about whether or not we should be protesting on the 19th, whether it should just be a day of action for us. And I talked about how Donald Trump had threatened to declare martial law after he imposes the Insurrection Act on April 20th. And I commented, and I'm not saying I did something, I'm just saying what I did. I commented, we must have a massive protest on April 19th because on April 20th, right, uh, this is going to happen, and that may have been our last peaceful protest, right? And before people start getting arrested and there's political violence, and again, I want to point out that the protest has been very good. It has been fruitful. It is absolutely doing all kinds of things. Remember, I've tried to say this. People forget what you said. Don't forget how you made them feel, right? So there's a lot of people out here that are like, every day Donald Trump screws over someone that supported him and they find their way. And I know that it's a slow process, it's a slow burn. A lot of people don't like that. They need to rip the band-aid off. They need all this action now. Okay? They need this justice now. Okay? Oh, you're talking about Ben Shapiro, the was that Pennsylvania governor that had attempted arson on his land? I also want to point out Election Truth Alliance did an investigation in Pennsylvania and released that information yesterday. I wonder if those things are connected. Josh Shapiro. What'd I say? Ben Shapiro? That fucking turd? Fox News says, yeah. When are they doing North Carolina? Okay, so because you asked, I'll go look and see. Greensboro, North Carolina, April 19th, noon to 2. 501, 501, 50501 North Carolina, and partnered with Indivisible. See, this is what I want to see. I want to see them working together. Charlotte, corner of Samford and Stateville Road, Huntersville, North Carolina. Semper Fi card pools. Here. Yep. So we just want to we want to make sure we're not fear mongering and that we're saying what the reality of the situation is. Donald Trump may absolutely use the words martial law on Sunday 420. He may absolutely do that. May also, if it were actually going to happen, there would be troop movement. There would be any sort of preparation for a large portion of the US military to be in your city. They would have already set up CP. So they would have set up checkpoints. They would have already done this. I've tried to say this before. The United States is fucking massive. It's a big ass country. It's wide as fuck. It's very difficult to declare martial law. Nigh impossible. It's just too big. So I was told I couldn't vote because I wasn't registered, but it was still they registered me that day. Wow. So make sure we're just being logical. Okay. Don't get caught up in You know, they say there's no ethical billionaires, but there are fucking concerned billionaires. Okay? Billionaire Ray Dalio. I'm worried about something worse than a recession. So, we have been saying on this show for a long time it's probably time to meet your neighbors. You might want to grow a garden. Okay? You might want to find out what they're bad at. Okay? So that you can grow what they're bad at. Me too. Actually, I was in weapons company. Mhm. For basically 2006. Hey, look, I found a warlord. See? Happens all the time. Now that I bought this hat, I got tons of friends. I never really felt particularly proud of my service until March 14th, the veterans protest here in Indianapolis. Um, it's actually the first time I ever went to the PX. Well, it was the exchange. It was actually not the exchange. It's called something the fuck else. Um, on camp, not camp, Fort Ben, here in on the east side. Say enjoy Easter, right? Yeah, no, enjoy Easter. Make plans, go out of town, do all that stuff. So just know that it he can say a lot of words and blow a lot of smoke, but again, there would be shit popping off, and I'm talking like a month before. Okay, so I'm saying if he was gonna do that, right? If he was gonna get a recommendation from his SecDef, from his AG, to go ahead and do that, they would have had to have already moved people. Okay. I just want. I mean, again, I feel like somebody's got to say it, right? Outside of the knitting cult lady, right? That was a former army captain. She grew up in a cult and joined another one, right? And by the way, I feel like saying this because it's just fucking true. This happens to me. This happened to me over the course of my life. All of the fuck ups that I've ever met in my life that made fucked up, stupid ass decisions that you're just like, God damn it, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Army. Every single time. And I want you to think about Robert Flynn, Tulsi Gabbard, but I'm talking about in my life. Like, think about this. I worked for a company for 5 years. Okay. They false advertise and they commit wire fraud. And I told my boss, who told their boss, and ultimately what they did was they demoted the vice president of sales and made him my direct supervisor. And they said, you know, Jared's a great employee, but we're concerned that he's a whistleblower, and they sent him to manage me. Okay, so keep in mind, this company ran a competition all the time, and I won that shit all the time. And they had to fly me everywhere and give me all kinds of shit. Yeah. So they sent this VP of sales down to be my boss, and he was former Army. And ultimately, his job was to keep me quiet and happy, and make sure that I wasn't acting out and speaking out. And ultimately, he went behind my back and monitored me over my shoulder, which no one had done the whole time I worked there, to get me fired. So he ultimately was sent there to destroy me, right? But keep in mind, I reported wire fraud to him. Hmm. I reported wire fraud to him. I had several conversations with HR about the fact that marketing told us they're going to false advertise, and now sales is just committing buku wire fraud. And not only did they not do anything about it, they did nothing about it so long that they got called out for it publicly by the media. Literally, CBS Chicago, um, Brad Edwards did this 30-minute takedown of the company I worked for. for 4+ years at the time, getting absolutely fucking shit on national television on Super Bowl Sunday. Okay? 4 days after the Super Bowl, Brad Edwards from CBS Chicago was in my driveway. That's why my boss had me fired, is because Brad and I communicated, and the company did all kind of fucked up shit, and I was documenting it and sharing it, because not only were they false advertising, and not only were they committing wire fraud, but they were talking about, if you talk about outside of work what happens at work and we find out, we'll fire you. And they like left it in a paper memo on our desk, like what happens here stays here if we find out that you're, yeah, anyway. Yeah, they're nationwide. hmm hmm They fired me and immediately offered me a settlement in exchange for an NDA, right? And then anytime I go to like help a veteran out and we get all the way to the end and we've spent like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and we're ready to do this deal, the only people that could possibly fuck that up is Army. Army. It's the same. It's the same. My whole life, ever since I came home from the military, like the people that are cold idiots that I have to like be around because they're in my social group, Army. It's like fuck. It's like I can get along with the Navy and the Air Force. It's not about even like getting along. I can get along with anyone. But like I applied for a job, I met with this athletic director. Army tells me while we're interviewing that he joined the Army as an MP to avoid combat. So I just want to point out that the athletic director at a high school is a former Army MP who told me when I interviewed to be the football coach that he joined the Army to be an MP to avoid combat. And I started laughing and I was like, oh yeah? How'd that work out? And he was like, I went to, Iraq and Afghanistan and shit, and he was missing like a leg and shit. And you're just like, holy fuck. I've met multiple people in my life that joined the military and took a specific job to avoid combat and then ended up in it, right? Which is a sad thing. This isn't funny. I'm not making fun of them for that. It's awful. And it doesn't just happen in the army. And again, mostly a joke about like every fuck up I know is an army. It's not like that. There's plenty of fuck ups in all branches. Morning, Jay. But yeah, April 19th, looking like a day of protest. Make sure you get, I think R50501 is just fine. A lot of people, for some reason, I've heard some people gripe about the subreddit and say that it's too liberal, but I think people are just dumb and don't know what that means. Because protest is by nature illiberal. Just so everyone knows. Liberal sort of means like follows standards and conformities, like follows the law. Protest, while inside the law, an exercise of your free speech, not something liberals do. Good to go. Maybe like a Democrat or a leftist or socialist, but an actual liberal would be sitting at home telling people don't protest. It's dangerous. hmm Actually, I think a liberal would probably be telling other people to be violent. I think that's what they would be doing. Yeah. There are not very many of those. People throw around that word, and there's just not that many of those people. They don't exist. I actually think and there's people that I talk to that I love. Is it true Donald Trump raised the minimum wage to $25 an hour? So what I have is no. No. In fact, Donald Trump just cut the minimum wage for hundreds of thousands of private sector workers, cutting from 17.75 to 13.30 an hour. And here's the actual news story where somebody had asked, is he raising it to $25? Okay. Isn't federal minimum wage 17.75 though? Let's see here. Oh, you know China's not gonna trade no 7.25? Well, it was saying like contractors get paid. That's what I meant, like federal jobs. 13.30 is what they're going to as min wage from 17.75. So no, I didn't mean like McDonald's workers. I meant like people that are private sector, shit like that. Hungarian opposition leader says he will restore EU NATO alliance if he defeats Orban. Because Congress is beholden to Trump. Remember, the House and Senate and presidency and SCOTUS all right leaning, and they're not ramming through legislation. This is how you know they're absolutely dumb as fuck, because they should be able to write a bill and get it passed. Write a bill, get it passed. You understand that there's bills written based on Donald Trump's executive orders and presidential orders that have not been signed. That he could just like he could just sign the shit. Here's the thing. It's like every bully I've ever met in my life, willing and able to get you all the way to the point where they're sitting on your chest, holding you by the collar, about to punch you in the face, and they don't have the actual balls to throw the punch. Right? This is Donald Trump. That's who Donald Trump is. He's a bully all the way up until he actually has to do something. And again, I just want to point out, I think the reason that Donald Trump is spitting out so many executive orders and presidential orders is because of a language barrier. Because Vladimir Putin and Elon Musk, who are working together, English is not their first language. So they're telling Donald Trump, they're giving him those marching orders, right? Think about it like this: you have to be stupid to get it. So there's a reason I'm able to explain it, because I'm dumb too. Okay? Let me explain. They misunderstand immunity. They misunderstand what immunity does as it applies to an executive order. They misunderstand what an executive order actually is. See, Brian, here's the problem. You didn't listen to what I just said. You heard what you wanted to hear. I said, and I quote, Vladimir Putin and Elon Musk, whose first language is not English, are giving Donald Trump marching orders. Clean out your fucking eardrums. Holy shit. It's like talking to a fucking wall. What's wrong with you people? So anyway, what we were saying is Donald Trump ain't giving no fucking marching orders. He's getting them. He's receiving them. They're coming to him. He's a puppet. No, no. It's fun. It's fun. Please. Mm-mm. Block. Yeah. Yeah, they're all deaf. Yeah, right. Mm-mm-mm. That's the problem. They're all deaf, right? Semper. Mañana? But yeah, just want to make sure we actually, you're going to be here. You need to actually listen to the words. You know what I mean? But yeah, this is actually pretty important. Hungarian opposition leaders vows to he will restore Western alliances if he defeats Orban. Orban's one of the allies to Donald Trump. Yeah, simplify. Okay. That's like important good news happening in the last 24 hours. France is going to make its wealth tax permanent. You see, there are countries eliminating oligarchies, quell authoritarianism, try not to turn Donald Trump into a habit. You should rewind your talk. We're co-streaming on YouTube, so you can always go back and watch it. You can go up into my profile. I only have two links. One's for Clapper, which is our TikTok backup, and the other one's for YouTube, where we actually post our show. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I like about seeing people on active duty using social media in their off hours is that you find out exactly who they are. It won't take you long. See, active duty servicemen, U.S. Army, openly followed a prescribed neo Nazi terrorist group on social media, one that has vowed to recruit soldiers in preparation for a so called race war. Remember this when I tell you, disliking, yes, I love Don Lemon. Disliking people because of the color of their skin is the absolute motherfucking dumbest shit I have ever heard in my adult life when there are way better reasons to dislike people than something they can do nothing about that has nothing to do with who they are as a person. So I just want to make sure we beat that fucking drum that like we're no different from one another. We're more alike than we could ever imagine. You're not hateful by nature, you're taught it. You can unlearn it. Mañana, August '05, November '07. I was medically separated against my will after my battle buddy was murdered. So, yeah, I was hate to see him leave television. Don Lemon was one of the reasons I actually watched the news. Or like watch mainstream media. Yeah, he is really good. So yeah, make sure if you're able, that you're participating in these protests, right? April 19th, your state capital, probably being organized beyond state capitals, right? So massive protests, April 19th. And understand one of the main drivers for this is that when Donald Trump was inaugurated, like on January 20th, one of his first executive orders instructed, I want to say it's SecDef and the AG, to deliver him a report in 90 days about whether or not he should use the Insurrection Act, which is effectively declaring martial law in the United States, based on their reports. That is a week from yesterday, and I'm not saying it's going to happen. he's probably going to say the words. Wouldn't surprise me at all if he says, declare martial law. Good to go? However, comma, if that were actually going to happen, you would know. There would be massive amounts of troop movement all over the United States. Massive amounts, meaning like a noticeable amount of troop movement. They would probably already have checkpoints up. Your family members and friends that are working in the government, working for the federal government, working in any of these branches or associated with any of these branches, they would tell you, hey, they're doing XYZ. They're moving concrete barriers all over these cities. Like, circle back, Jared. Yeah, that's kind of what we do here. Okay. People still protesting hiring an or? Of course they are. Circle back, Jared. You didn't finish that. Which thought, Crystal? which thought did I start that I didn't finish? See, Donald Trump talks about the weave. I can weave. Okay. And remember this, it doesn't matter what Donald Trump does. It matters what is done in retaliation. Right? So what's important to me, okay? And understand the immunity. Oh, what I was saying for yes, we did get fucking derailed. What I was saying before somebody made an idiot ass comment, is that my theory, this is my conspiracy theory. The reason that there's no legislation getting passed, there aren't bills being written that support all these executive orders, is because Donald Trump gets his marching orders from Elon Musk and Vladimir Putin, and English is not their first language. So they are confused about what Donald Trump is immune from. And so it's like his presidential orders, his executive orders, they're not immune. It's not like he says it and it becomes law because he's immune. That's not how it works. And the only way you'd fuck that up, because I'd like to think like, if English is your first language, you understood that. You were like, yeah, Jared makes sense here. He says, your immunity as a president does not mean that the presidential orders and executive orders you write are also immune. And they think they're flooding the zone by him just sign. He doesn't know half the shit he's signing, first of all. He doesn't know half the shit he's signing, first of all. And second of all, executive orders and presidential orders are akin to a memo. They're not actually enforceable law. In order for them to be enforceable law, they have to be written into a bill. That bill has to pass. That's not happening, and what makes it even like take it a step further where it's like, this is how fucking stupid all these people that are in charge of you are right now. They could have already fucking taken all the money out of Social Security, taken all the fucking veterans benefits away. They could have already done all that shit. Write a bill. All they had to do is write a bill and get it passed. But here's what we know. If anyone associated with him knew what the fuck they were doing, Chip Roy, right, from Texas, he's been submitting bills that are based on Donald Trump's presidential orders and executive orders. It's just it takes a long time to fucking do that. So I know it feels like you're getting beaten the shit out of every single day by this administration. But they are the dumbest, weakest, most feckless, absolutely fucking reckless, incompetent, most like loser ass people ever to be in charge of another group of people ever. They will go so far as to like torture their political opponents. This administration had a Tufts, Tufts University professor literally picked up off the fucking street absolutely no reason to do that. They had absolutely no jurisdiction to do that. In my opinion, it was that news story that changes me from play defense to play offense. So for those of you that have been following me and you've been hearing me say, you're probably going to want to think defensively before you ever think offensively. When they can literally pull someone off the fucking street with absolutely zero reason to do that, no credibility, no warrant, nobody's calling for that arrest. They can do that to anyone. A lot of people are talking about Kilmar Garcia. It's important to point out in 2019, a judge said he was an MS-13 member. I'm not saying that makes it legitimate. That's what Donald Trump is using to say we don't have to bring him back. This ruling from 2019 says he's an MS-13 member. Is he an MS-13 member? I don't think so. I don't know him. It's also important to know when you don't know shit. I don't fucking know. Okay? But what is crazy about Kilmar Garcia is that he's a dad. Okay? That's what's crazy about this is that he was separated from his family and shit. Um, I'm not even a parent, and it just breaks my fucking heart because I bet you he's like a good dad and shit. Yes. They're operating as though that he can just give them immunity. And again, that's not how that works. Immunity and pardons are only for like federal crimes. Understand that there are state level charges attached to like every rule you break. And that ultimately it's not normal to prosecute people that are active elected officials. They couldn't find anything credible to substantiate and release them. Yeah. It is. It is. Dina said, I know this is not on topic. I don't know about that. But I'm going to go see Bernie and AOC tonight in Ruby Red, Idaho. I'm glad to hear that. There's probably going to be a lot of people. I want to point out the numbers keep going up. 3,000, 10,000, 36,000 yesterday. And remember when you think about this with Donald Trump, Elon Musk wanting Donald Trump to be president to avoid going to prison. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And you're watching it happen in real time every day. And understand that they're actually shitty leaders and actually they're bad people. And God don't like ugly. And one of the things that I've watched with my eyeballs is these motherfuckers get uglier in real time. And day to day, they're like even uglier. You're a Purdue basketball fan. Why would I be like we're one season removed from the National Player of the Year? What the fuck are we talking about? Yes, Veterans Rally, April 30th. It's actually a nationwide thing. So yeah, there's going to be a big stink made uh, in DC on April 30th, but that protest is nationwide. So right now we're focused on April 19th because it's right now. Hmm. I don't know what heartbreak is for you. But what's funny about that is that's not actually true because they did it all via executive order and presidential order. And so while there are executive orders and presidential orders touching 45% of Project 2025, they're not being implemented. So they're not law, they're akin to memo. And you see Donald, what kind of pretzel Donald Trump had to fold himself into in order to get himself into a position where he broke the law. The court said he broke the law, give him back, and they said no. The only way they could do it is to fuck up deportation. That's the only way that he could do it. He doesn't have another way to actually enforce law. He doesn't have that. Lots of protesting in Utah. Yep. Should be protesting about everywhere soon. I mean, Donald Trump did just give a bunch of people like a $4 an hour pay cut. I don't know about you, but that's a $8,000 a year pay cut for a full-time worker. $4 an hour is a lot. That's a lot. We were talking about this Sumi attack on Palm Sunday. Published identities of the Russian military brigades responsible for the deadly attack on Sumi. The 112th and 448th Missile Brigades attacked the city of Sumi with two Iskander M ballistic missiles. That's a war crime. Putin's supremacy mode. Yeah. Oh, this was funny. So, Donald Trump's administration is pretty brazen, right? Pretty bold, right? And so, Department of Homeland Security uh, receives an email or sends an email to a U.S. citizen telling her she's facing deportation. Just so happens she's an immigration attorney. That's so fucking great, man. Like, awesome. Awesome. The in terms of the fire, the arson at Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's residence. Suspect in custody. Charged in overnight. Cody Balmer, charged with criminal attempt. Admitted his actions to troopers during an interview. Balmer added he would have beaten Shapiro with a hammer if confronted. Balmer admitted to harboring hatred towards Governor Shapiro. So yeah, again, I'm making sure I say it loud and proud and long and strong. R50501, our Protest Finder USA. Find the supported protest in your area there. Understand that it's sort of been moved beyond even state capitals, which I don't know how I feel about that. So let that land where it may, okay? I don't know how I feel about leaving the state capital protest, okay? We're still a big country. We still got some massive ass states. Like I think about Texas, right? There should be protests in like San Antonio, Houston, Dallas. Right? Makes sense. Big state, right? Florida, right? There should be protests in I don't know, Destin and Tampa, right? And the Atlantic side, right? Land does not protest. Exactly. People do. Orlando even, right? So I think that we live in a massive ass country. People are spread the fuck out. I'm all about organized protest. It's the pop up protest that I'm a little leery about because I'm like, who fucking set that shit up and what is the odds of there being provocateur, right? Where it's easier to protest and it goes smoothly and non-violently if it's well organized and planned and centrally located, like a state capital makes sense. It's the pop-up protests and the single city protests I have a problem supporting, because I think when you have like a DC protest, you are ignoring the fact that people are fucking broke and they don't have the money to travel to fucking Washington D.C. to join you. And so I think you're hurting your own movement. It's like Harikari, right? Um, when you could just do it nationwide, right? In state capitals or in big cities like Chicago, right? As opposed to, like I said, a pop up protest or a DC only. You know, I'm not. Hey, I don't care how much money I have. I'm not flying to DC, staying in a hotel to go to a protest. It's not happening. I don't care how much money I have. I'm gonna protest in my city where I live, right? Because that actually makes sense. The people that are in political office who are negatively impacting our quality of life, they live here. They don't live in DC. Yeah, they're in DC every now and then, but like, come on. Uh, and hey, if you have that question, you should go do some research and then come back with another screen name because that one's not going to work. Blocked. Um, but yeah, if you are unsure why we're protesting at this stage, I'm not the person to ask. So you need to go do a lot of reading, and that is not done staring at my face. Okay? Yeah. Dr. Henry Queller, by the way. And I want to make sure we speak up about the Blue Dog Coalition. There are about 54 elected Democrats, which I don't know, it's about half the number of Democrats that take money from AIPAC. So there's about 54 elected Democrats that are Blue Dog Democrats, which are conservative Democrats, which is fucking ironic. Why aren't you just Republicans, right? Um, and so be aware of the people that voted to make voting more difficult for 70 million women, immigrants, veterans, people that have been married and changed their last name. Um, Miss Marie Perez is a member of the Blue Dog Coalition, which is a conservative Democratic group, like a splinter cell within the Democratic Party that votes conservatively. You got to eliminate, again, there's a reason I'm founding the American Socialist Party and we're moving away from this two party system because there are factions within these parties and they're not together. They're not working together. It's a bunch of there are some the individuals at the top of each party, and there's a bunch of nobodies. It's a bunch of fucking nobodies. So I'll be the party founder. Use me, right? And then from there, there's only like 600 elected officials in the United States. Okay, you run as a socialist and you accept the nomination as a Democrat and you double bird the Democratic Party the whole time you're in office and you do the socialist shit and you make sure that everybody knows we're playing within the two-party structure. We're gonna win office. We're gonna have to like run as a fucking Democrat. We have a two-party system, so we get enough people elected that are actually socialists that can eliminate the electoral college, get rid of the two-party system, and make it so like we could have as many fucking parties as we want because we have within the two-party system we have factions, right? You could just probably just Google Blue Dog Coalition members and find out that there are 54 elected Democrats that are Blue Dog Coalition members, which are conservative voting Democrats, which is fucking crazy. That's crazy. Why aren't you just fucking Republicans? I don't understand. And again, those are the people that I would look to get elected as a Democrat and flip to a Republican, right? And so there's a reason why I've sat here and said it's not about me. I'm not trying to run for office. I'm not seeking power. There's way more prepared people for office than I, right? I need like 600 of them. It would be really nice if you were like a former union leader or somebody that's been involved in politics before that understands what I'm saying. We can get past this shit, but the reality is that if I'm a Democrat, I would rather fight someone to my left than fight someone to my right. Why not call it democratic social? Democracy is only good if it holds. So, what's the point of calling myself a democratic if democracy does not exist? Right? There's clearly a two-tier justice system. It's clearly the haves versus the have-nots. Right? It's a rich versus poor thing, not a left versus right thing. Right? I'm a socialist. I want everybody to have universal healthcare, education, income, and housing. I'm pro equality, pro union, pro Palestine, pro Ukraine, right? That's not the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is pro Israel. I'm not pro Israel. Fuck that. I'm your friend until you fuck the fuck up, and then we aren't friends. That's how that works. Right? In terms of Israel, like they're committing a fucking genocide, right? And have been, for the record, since like 1948. And nobody seems to like nobody's arguing that. Nobody, there's no one. I've never met an actual human being that's like, no, Israel is legitimate, right? There, that is a rogue nation state. They don't own land. They're not a country. They don't have borders. Okay, they are effectively the IDF, which is military, and they are a rogue nation state hell bent on settling the Gaza Strip and have been systematically committing ethnic cleansing and genocide in the Gaza Strip since 1948. Oh, you know what I found out like last week? I don't know if we talked about this. Hamas was paid by Israel to that attack on October 7th, funded by Israel. They let them kill them so they could genocide the Palestinian people. Israel paid Hamas to attack them so they could substantiate the uh, destruction of the Palestinian people. Oh, I'm going to keep saying it. Israel paid Hamas to attack them so they could on October 7th, you know that? So that they could then kill the Palestinian people and blame them for it. Mm-hmm. Remember, it's Israel that's saying like Hamas has like command centers under hospitals and they're using doctors as human shields and shit, which is fucking crazy. Hmm. Somebody said like 9/11 sort of. I mean, hey Zeke, I'm guessing someone ate really well. That's about what I'm guessing. Hmm. Yeah, that was like last week in a show. I don't know if people caught that. That's why I repeated it. Yep, they funded it and disregarded warnings from female troops who noticed what was going on. So understand, not every person that's in the IDF is a sympathizer, right? But understand, like their lives end the moment they speak out. Totally knew it was coming and allowed it to happen. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Physical's not all that good as he keeps saying it is. No. What about the 7 Day War in the 80s? There's like 30 years before that you're omitting, and then like 30 years after that you're omitting. But we could talk about a specific week in the 1980s if you'd like. What's the I don't know if that's necessarily like the flex you think it is. And it's not untrue that the US wants an ally in the Middle East. I just don't think that's Israel. They don't own land. They don't have borders. Gaza's not safe. Even if they are to exile all the Palestinians from Gaza, do you think that makes it safe now? If Donald Trump gets to build a golf course and a resort there, does that make it safe now? Who's gonna work for him there? Is he gonna do the same thing that he did in Dubai? By the way, you all have heard about this, right? You've heard about Donald Trump's resort in Dubai, right? What they did was they swindled some workers to move there and work at this resort, right? And then when they get there, they take their documentation, put them in public housing, think like not good living situation, and then they charge them in rent more than they make in a day. So that they can't get away. They can't escape modern day slavery. That's what that is. Yes, Donald J. Trump in Dubai. Uh huh. And we don't talk about that here because there are Americans in the United States that support that shit, and they think it's just fine. They don't do that here. Better there than here, and understand that that's the plan. Remember, I told you this. All those rich fucks are invested in the private prison system being built in the United States so they can house immigrants and veterans and people that speak out against them. That's their whole fucking plan. Slave labor. Yep. Not just people of color, the people that are dissenters. That's their plan. Hmm. Don't say that I didn't tell you. Okay? Don't say that I didn't tell you that was their intent. And that's because they can't make you buy their products. They can't make you support them. But in this society that we live in, they can fucking jail you, and the prison and jail system in the United States can force you to work. So you can never tell me voting doesn't matter when they will literally jail their political opponents. We didn't ever think this was going to happen in the United States because I didn't think that we were going to elect Donald Trump twice. And remember, I would feel a lot better. I would feel a lot better about the situation. Okay. If there weren't a dangerous amount of precedent where this administration already has a track record of deporting American citizens and losing them. It also already has a track record of deporting legal U.S. citizens and detaining legal U.S. citizens without a warrant. They also now have a track record of threatening deportation to legal U.S. citizens that happen to be immigration attorneys. They're testing the checks, they're testing the balances, for those of you unfamiliar. Okay? So, hey, we've been going for 90 minutes. Got the Bible says slavery is okay, so yeah, well. Right. So, have a great Monday. Port of Mexican Americans, the Great Depression, too. See? That's why when Donald Trump was elected, one of the first things that I remember saying was, if you think that you know an immigrant, no, you don't. No, you don't. They've lived here the whole time. Hmm? They're U.S. citizens. Hmm? Yep. So have a fantastic day, and we will see you tomorrow. Try not to get too worked up about all this shit. Understand that it's mostly smoke and mirrors, and that I'm absolutely saying with my full chest, Donald Trump and this administration are feckless, ineffective, incompetent motherfucking people, and they're not doing a goddamn thing. Like, it is all smoke and fucking mirrors. Yes, there are isolated incidents that are like super fucked up and like holy shit, but they can't do that on like a higher level. You know what I'm saying? Like they can't do that more, right? They're doing it at the level they can fucking do it at, and that is disappear person here and there, lose one, fucking strike fear in everybody. They're literally trying to scare you. Fear is how they operate. Okay? Who is with your 200 fucking followers? Have a